Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Your Productivity Pulse. I'm really glad you're here today because this episode is one that is genuinely close to my heart, and I think by the end of it, you're going to understand why. But before we get into it, I need to share something exciting. This episode is part of Podcasthon 2026, and if you haven't heard of Podcasthon, let me tell you about it. It is one of the most inspiring things happening in the podcasting world right now. Podcasthon is the world's largest podcast charity initiative. The idea is beautifully simple. Podcasters from around the globe all dedicate one episode of their show to a charitable organization that they care about, and they release those episodes during the same week. All at once, a coordinated wave of awareness for causes that deserve more of the world's attention. This is actually the 4th edition of the Podcasthon. This year, it has surpassed 2,000 podcasts participating from over 60 countries, spanning 4 languages and every corner of the globe. And it all kicked off on March the 14th and runs through March the 20th. Think about that for a second. Thousands of podcasters all hitting publish on the same week, each one shining a light on a cause they believe in. When I decided to take part in Podcasthon this year, I didn't have to think long about which organization I wanted to highlight. For me, the choice was clear. And that brings me to the heart of today's episode. HeadsUp CAN, the HeadsUp Concussion Advocacy Network, is a Canadian nonprofit founded by 2 people, Ryan Sutton and Seth Mendelson, who know the concussion experience from the inside. Not from a textbook, not from a clinic, but from their own lives and from the lives of the people closest to them. Ryan and Seth actually started it back in 2017 with a social purpose brand that donated a portion of every sale to the Canadian Concussion Centre. But in 2020, they took the leap to build something bigger, a non-profit organization focused entirely on expanding programming for people with lived experience and building a real network with the concussion and health community. And here's what makes HeadsUp CAN different from a lot of organizations working in the same space. After hearing from hundreds and hundreds of people affected by concussion, Ryan and Seth kept noticing the same gap. People's real lived experiences did not line up with what the current guidelines and best practices were saying. Something was missing from the conversation, and that something was the patient perspective. HeadsUp CAN's whole mission is built around fixing that. Their goal is to generate concussion awareness and research through a lived experience approach, while also providing leading-edge educational programs. Their vision? To be the national leader in understanding and communicating the holistic concussion experience. And their values: learning, inclusivity, collaboration, leadership, respect, knowledge, and empathy. Those aren't just words on a website. You can feel them in everything they do. I am so grateful to have them as part of this conversation today, because what we're about to discuss, the hidden daily battle with time that so many concussion survivors face, is exactly the kind of lived experience that HeadsUp CAN exists to bring into the light. So let's get into it. Have you ever looked up from something and had no idea where the last hour went? Or sat down to do a simple task and realized 40 minutes had passed and you'd barely started? For most of us, that's a bad morning. Maybe a sign we need more sleep or less phone. For someone living with post-concussion syndrome, that can be every single day. And it's almost never on the list of symptoms that anyone warns you about. Here's what actually is happening in the brain. A concussion disrupts not just memory, but the brain's ability to process, perceive, and organize time itself. The brain's timekeeping system is deeply connected to attention and working memory. And when those systems are disrupted, everything downstream gets affected. We're talking about difficulty switching between tasks, forgetting what we're doing midway through, multi-step tasks feeling completely overwhelming, and this constant disorientating sense that time is either flying past you or has somehow stopped cooperating altogether. It's not laziness, it's not bad attitude, it's neurological. And for a lot of survivors, especially high-functioning ones, people who were athletes, teachers, executives, parents juggling everything, this loss of control over their own time can be one of the most devastating parts of the whole experience. Okay, so let's talk about what people are actually doing about this right now, because this is where it gets really interesting. The old approach to concussion recovery, rest in the dark, wait until you feel completely better, avoid all cognitive challenge, we now know that's not just unhelpful, it can actually slow recovery down. The brain needs gentle, progressive challenge to heal. The key word being gentle. And when it comes specifically to time management and getting through the day, what survivors are finding is that the standard productivity advice, hustle harder, batch your tasks, grind through it, is basically useless. The brain after concussion needs something completely different. What is working? Structure that is small, flexible, and compassionate. Things like compensatory tools, calendars, alarms, checklists, notebooks. Organizing your day around your energy peaks rather than the clock, alternating between physical and cognitive tasks, and critically reframing how you think about the days when things go sideways. Not what is wrong with me, but, okay, what can I put into place tomorrow to help me stay on track? The research also points to something really important, person-centered dynamic support, meaning the best approach meets you exactly where you are, adapts as you improve, and is built around your actual life, not a generic protocol. I want to tell you about someone. Her name is Sarah. Her story is fictionalized, but it is built on real experiences shared by real people navigating exactly this. Sarah was a high school PE teacher and a former competitive athlete. Someone who had always moved fast, juggled everything, and never needed to ask for help. Her whole identity was built around doing. Then one Saturday morning in October, she decided she wasn't going to wait for help to move a dresser up the stairs. Halfway up, her grip slipped. The dresser went one way, and Sarah went the other, tumbling backward, her head hitting the edge of one step, then another. Her husband found her on the floor, staring at the ceiling. The look on her face was something he'd never seen before. Confusion. She spent 2 days in the hospital. Scans came back clean. The doctor said the word concussion with a kind of casual confidence that made it sound like something you just sleep off. Rest, hydrate, avoid screens. You'll feel better soon. Sarah nodded and believed them. She was back in the gym within 2 weeks, except she wasn't really back. It wasn't really working. Every time she worked out, she felt sick. But she didn't tell anyone. She wasn't herself. She wasn't the Sarah her students knew. She wasn't the Sarah her husband knew. And she wasn't the Sarah that she saw in the mirror anymore. She smiled through the headaches. She laughed off the moments mid-lesson where she lost the thread of what she was saying. She told her department head she was totally fine. She told her husband the same thing every night over dinner. Time was doing something strange to her. A task that used to take 20 minutes now swallowed an hour. She'd sit down to write lesson plans and look up to find the afternoon had disappeared. The fatigue wasn't like being tired. It was like being slowly erased inside. And the cruelest part was that she was looking completely fine. So she kept performing, kept insisting she was fine, kept quietly falling further behind the version of herself she desperately wanted to get back to. Months passed. It was a Wednesday in March. She remembers because she missed the recycling pickup again. That's when she finally called her friend Jess. Jess was a productivity coach, someone who found genuine joy in structure and systems, someone who thought about time the way Sarah used to think about athletic training, with strategy, intention, and deep respect for what your body and mind could actually handle on a given day. Sarah hadn't called sooner because she was embarrassed. Asking for help with time management felt absurd for a woman who used to run a gym full of teenagers on a whistle and a schedule. But she was out of options. She told Jess everything. Jess listened without flinching. Then she said, "I want to introduce you to something. It's called the 42-minute hour." Sarah laughed a little. "Is it like the Pomodoro thing?" "It is a time-blocking system," Jess said, "but it's built differently. Pomodoro gives you a fixed structure. This one is designed to be customized around exactly what you need right now, not what works for someone else." She explained it simply. A 60-minute block broken into 2 parts, 42 minutes devoted to a primary goal, whatever's most important to you at that time, whatever moves the needle forward, and 18 minutes given to a secondary goal, something smaller, something that needs doing, but doesn't carry the same weight. Your secondary goal, Jess said, could be a simple task like taking out the recycling. Sarah burst out laughing. "Oh, that is an absolute need in my life right now." But the laughter faded. She got quiet. "Jess," she said carefully, "there's no way I can focus on something for 42 minutes. I know that sounds ridiculous coming from me, but I genuinely cannot do that right now." Jess didn't miss a beat. "Then you're in luck," she said warmly, "because I have another version. It's called the Split 42. Same structure, same idea, but everything is cut in half. 21 minutes on your primary goal, 9 minutes on your secondary. That's it. Then you stop, you breathe, and you go again when you're ready." There was a long pause. When Sarah spoke again, her voice was smaller, but something in it had shifted. "I think I can do that," she said, the tears welling in her eyes, but for the first time in months, she felt her heart smile. Now, Sarah's story is fictional, but the 42-minute hour is real. It is a time management tool that I've created, and it actually genuinely helps people who have been living with post-concussion syndrome find a sustainable and adaptable way to reclaim their days. The beauty of it is that it doesn't demand more from people who are already running on empty. It meets you exactly where you are, and sometimes that is the most important thing any tool or any person can do. I want to come back to HeadsUp CAN as we close today, because everything we just talked about, the gap between what the guidelines say and what people actually experience, the importance of the patient voice, the difference between clinical recovery and actually getting your life back, that is the work HeadsUp CAN is doing every single day. They are building a platform where people who have sustained a concussion can share their experiences. Knowing those stories will be used to inform real education, real awareness, and real research programming. They are connecting with industry-leading experts to pair lived experience with evidence-based support, and they are dedicated to making sure that the patient perspective is at the forefront of every single decision made in the concussion space. Their ambition is to be the national leader in concussion awareness and education in Canada. And honestly, having seen what they are building, I believe they will get there. If today's episode resonated with you, if you recognize something in Sarah's story, I want to encourage you to find HeadsUp CAN. Share their work. Share this episode with someone who might need to hear it, because one of the most powerful things we can do for people navigating this injury is simply let them know they are not alone and that their experience matters. And one more thing, if this is your first time finding this podcast through Podcasthon 2026, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Podcasthon runs all week from March the 14th to the 20th, and there are thousands of other podcasts out there right now doing exactly what I just did, using their platform to shine a light on something that matters. I'd encourage you to explore some of those episodes this week. The podcasthon.org website is a great place to start, because losing track of time should never mean losing your story. Thank you so much for listening today. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I will talk to you next time. Thank you so much for spending your time with me on this episode of Your Productivity Pulse. If today's conversation sparked a moment of action or reflection, I invite you to keep that momentum going. More practical strategies designed to enhance productivity, reduce stress, and weave balance back into your life can be found by joining my newsletter at vanartexpression.com. Once there, just head over to your Productivity Pulse podcast page to sign up, or you can find the link in the show notes. Remember, intention plus accountability equals productivity. Until next time, keep listening to your pulse.